small, isolated town nestled in northeastern Argentina, the kind where houses disappear into the fields and secrets seem to linger in the wind, I, Nora, once lived a life as simple as the rural hills surrounding me. It's been years since that night, years that have made me question everything I thought I knew. But I need to share what happened. I don't want to, but I have no choice anymore. I must warn others. My story begins when I was just 18, in a town where everyone knew everyone, and nothing stayed a secret for long. My family, large and boisterous, would often gather for barbecues under the stars. My grandfather, an old payador, would play his guitar and tell stories of the countryside, stories that I thought were nothing more than folklore. I remember laughing at the strange rituals people practiced, old superstitions that seemed to hold no real weight. But there was one story, one that I could never quite shake off, even though I dismissed it with the same nonchalance I showed toward the rest of them.
It was the story of La Luz Maldita, the evil light, a soul trapped between this world and the next, a restless spirit without proper burial, wandering the fields in search of help. But that help, it wasn't kindness it sought. It had the power to make livestock and people disappear. They said you could see it on moonless nights, a faint, eerie glow flickering in the distance. And when you saw it, well, that was when the horror began. Then the town went quiet. Pedro, one of the shopkeepers, had vanished. A man whose life had spiraled due to liquor and gambling. No one was particularly shocked, but the circumstances, they felt strange. The police forbade anyone from wandering the fields while they conducted their investigation. It was their way of protecting us. But what if they weren't protecting us at all?
One night, after school, as the wind whispered through the trees, Laura, my best friend, dared us all to do something reckless. "Let's camp out in the fields," she said. "Let's see if the evil light is real." I couldn't argue with her. Not that night. It seemed like just another dare, but deep inside, something felt different. I was already skeptical of the legends, but the way she said it, with that spark of challenge in her eyes, I couldn't back down. So, that Friday night, we gathered our things, packed water, and set off into the vast emptiness of the fields. The air was thick with the smell of fresh grass, and the world was eerily silent, save for the occasional rustle of insects. We set up our camp, and before long the fire burned bright, and the drinks flowed freely. Laughter filled the air. But it wouldn't last. Then it happened. Laura screamed, her face, pale and stricken, locked on something in the distance. "Look!" she whispered, almost in awe. I turned, expecting to see a trick of the light, but no. There it was, a faint, eerie glow far in the horizon. "That's just a truck," Juan muttered, but something in the pit of my stomach told me otherwise. The glow flickered, and something about it felt wrong, unnatural. It wasn't a truck. We were tired, but the light didn't fade. Juan, David, and Valentina decided we needed to leave. They laughed, shrugged it off, and started packing up. I, however, could not shake the chill that ran down my spine. The glow wasn't just some passing vehicle. It was something else. I grabbed my backpack, stumbling in the dark, and tried to follow them, but my friends had already gone ahead. My calls, desperate now, echoed through the trees, but they didn't answer. I tried to follow them, but it was useless. The darkness of the forest swallowed me whole, and the sounds of their voices became more distant, fading away like a whisper carried off by the wind. Then I saw it again. The light. It had grown. It was closer. I ran blindly. My only goal to escape. But the more I moved, the more I could hear it, like a whisper following me, ever closer. And then I tripped. My body tumbled down the hillside, and I crashed into the earth, my knees scraping the ground. I could feel my breath on my neck, cold, tight. Something was behind me. I sat there, heart pounding, terrified. And then I heard it, a whisper, soft but unmistakable. I froze. The glow was almost upon me. I stumbled back, but it was too late. I saw it, a figure moving in the light. But it wasn't human, not anymore. I don't remember much after that. My mind has blotted out the details. The next thing I knew, I was being dragged from the darkness, my body cold and shaking, my lungs burning. It wasn't until later that I learned what had happened. They found Pedro's body just where I had been. The police, with my grandfather's amulet, the one he'd given me, had found me. But no one could explain it. Not really. They said the light didn't exist. But I knew better. I had felt it. I had seen it. In the months that followed, I left for Buenos Aires, seeking escape from the horrors I had seen. But the amulet, the one my grandfather gave me, kept haunting me. I took it to a priest for answers, but when he bathed it in holy water, he nearly collapsed. He wouldn't tell me what he saw, and I never went back to that town. Years later, when I heard of David's death, alone in the fields, I couldn't shake the thought. He had stayed behind to tend the livestock. He had seen something. I know it. And if you ask me now, I'll tell you something. If I ever go back, I know what will happen. I'll be next.
The evil